Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon. This is John Suntress. It's December and it's holiday season. Consider a lot of the guests on Word Balloon as gift ideas because I really think a lot of the creators have new product, no matter what it is, whether it's a film or a TV show or obviously comic book, a graphic novel, whatever. And, of course, our regular sponsor, Aftershock, should be considered that way as well. If you have questions or comments about the show, reach me via email. Best way to contact me, john@wordballoon.com. Also, follow me on Twitter under John Wordballoon and on Facebook on my name, John Suntress, and the Word Balloon Network. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for listening through the commercials. Yes, sometimes they repeat, but it is the holiday season, and I have no control over the repeaters. But that's how I get paid from them, is by you listening all the way through those commercials and into the show. We're coming back after one more commercial, and then we'll start things off. But as always, thanks very much for listening. Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here, another representation today on this episode. A great conversation that I had with Ralph Bakshi, the wonderful animator. This was back in February of 2013. Ralph, what an amazing body of work. If you don't know Ralph, wait, let me rattle off some of his amazing credits over the years. This animator was just incredible, man. Of course you remember Fritz the Cat, the very controversial, groundbreaking adaptation of the comic book that he did. Then, of course, he did things like Heavy Traffic and a very controversial film called Coonskin. There was, of course, Wizards. Hey Good Looking. Also, American Pop and Fire and Ice that he made with Frank Frazetta. He did Cool World in the early 90s, which was a great movie that had also live-action footage and featured a very early Brad Pitt role. Unbelievable stuff. Well, in the 2000s, and specifically 2013, Ralph decided to make a movie called Last Days of Coney Island. He did it entirely on himself. He did it through Kickstarter, and it was a successful Kickstarter campaign. Matthew Modine, the fantastic actor, is in the film because he heard about the Kickstarter campaign and he wanted to be a part of it and stuff. It was released on Vimeo in 2015, and he finally released the film. It's about 22 minutes long on YouTube in 2016. And this conversation was at the beginning of the Kickstarter. He was talking about why he was doing it this way rather than going to a studio to try to produce this film. And he says right off the bat, he wasn't looking to merchandise this thing. He just wanted to make a movie. Which obviously is not the way that cartoons are made these days. Of course there's merchandising. Of course there's products to be made by, everybody that's involved in animation, from Disney to Warner Brothers to Pixar, and you name it. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's cool. I wouldn't mind a Last Days of Coney Island t-shirt or something, and maybe in a small way, Ralph was doing stuff like that for the Kickstarter. I bought a sketch you could buy for under $50 if you supported his Kickstarter. I got a sketch, so I have an original. It's the size of like a note card that you'd put a recipe on or whatever back in the old days before all of our recipes were online. Or for a speech or something like that. Still 3x5 sketch. I own a Ralph Bakshi original doodle. And I am thrilled that I have a Ralph Bakshi doodle. That's amazing. So he was terrific. Very candid. This is a guy that doesn't mind speaking his mind and dropping a few four-letter words in the process. But in addition to all that, how about his television work? He worked on TerryToons back in the 50s. That's where he cut his teeth, doing things like Deputy Dog. And, of course, he also did Mighty Mouse for a long time. He's most known to superhero fans for being a part of the 1967 SpiderMan series. He did the second season, which is kind of the more interesting artsy-fartsy season. Did I mention Lord of the Rings? I don't think I did. And the first animated adaptation of Lord of the Rings, not the Hobbit, that was done by Rankin and Bass, and Return of the King was done by Rankin and Bass. But in between, there was Lord of the Rings, which was a feature film release, and it kind of covered the first book and a half of the Lord of the Rings series. It never did reach the climax in Return of the King, but about half of Two Towers and half of the first book, of course. So Really cool stuff, and a great conversation with Ralph Bakshi. I'm proud to reshare it with you now on today's Word Balloon. It's all brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you greatly, League, for your support via Patreon as a subscriber to the League and a subscriber to Word Balloon. Word Balloon is free, but if you want to help out the cause and you like what I do here, is Word Balloon worth $1 a month to you? Is it worth $3 a month? I hope so. I try to bring you a great show, and I'm trying to get into some new projects and bring you more interesting ideas through the Word Balloon brand. Patreon.com/Word Balloon, that's the place to do it. And subscribe to Word Balloon, or click on the front page of wordballoon.com, and that will take you to our Patreon page. Thank you, League of Word Balloon listeners. Word Balloon also brought to you by Aftershock Comics. It's December, and there's a lot of great Aftershock books that are waiting for you as great holiday gifts in this gift-giving season. Why not give your friend that loves comics but hasn't tried Aftershock book some of their great graphic novels that are waiting for you to pick up, or things like The Art of Jim Starlin, a wonderful art book that celebrates Jim's work. And then there's great series like, and again, pick up the graphic novels that represent them. Baby Teeth from Donny Cates. Garth Ennis's series like A Walk Through Hell and other wonderful Aftershock projects. There's Marguerite Bennett's Animosity. There's Tim Seeley's Dark Red. There's Cullen Bunn and Juan Doe's Dark Ark. There's Stronghold from our buddy Phil Hester. So many wonderful books with the Aftershock name. Great creators. You can trust the names on the books, and then you can trust what's inside because they have high concepts, groundbreaking stuff that's happening with Aftershock Comics. Check out their website. You'll find full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on how to order these books through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. All right, let's get into this now. From February of 2013, my conversation with Ralph Bakshi, starting off with his last exit to Coney Island, which you can find on YouTube these days. And I urge you to do that because this is the kind of experimental animation that made him famous. And there's very few examples of this. I mean, you got Ralph, you got Bill Plimpton. How many guys are really out there? And I mean, I know I'm talking about the old guard. I'm sure there's a lot of new stuff that's being created. But these are the masters that have proven themselves time and time again. Let's talk to Ralph Bakshi on today's Word Balloon.
I'm a longtime fan, sir, and it's a pleasure to speak to you, and I thank you for doing this interview.
No
truly.
problem.
I'm psyched for the new movie. I'm thrilled that you're doing this, and I'm intrigued that you're using Kickstarter to fund Last Days of Coney Island. What can you tell me? Why the crowdfunding through Kickstarter?
Well, it's an easy question to answer. First of all, I'm not looking to do anything except animation. And I'm looking, I don't have any dreams of, huge merchandising schemes or major releases from theaters anymore. In other words, I decided, I've always enjoyed to do the films that I wanted to do. And I decided I'm going to try to make movies and release them on the net, meaning my blog or the Bakshi channel, which we're creating, or on YouTube, that if I could raise money to do this, that I could be creatively free, and it would be good for animation because there'd be no restrictions, just like your blog here, and there would be no fighting with studios who tear up my films and rip them to shreds. I did take Last Days a couple of years ago, Coney Island, to studios, and they said it wasn't merchandisable. Well, of course it wasn't. No, it's not.
Sure.
But I said, look, I don't need a lot of money. I'm not looking to merchandise it. I'm looking to do a good movie, and I don't mind if millions of people come to a theater and, and make you guys rich. And I don't mind driving an old Ferrari around me. I have nothing against money if it comes the right way. I just don't want to exactly do what you're doing, which is, kind of merchandisable stuff only. So, I took it back home, and then I realized after watching the Kickstarter thing that this might be a way, and I'm trying to prove it if it is a way. Then I'll be doing all my animation for the net, and maybe somehow I'll find a way to make a profit so I can make it myself without going to Kickstarter. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, I understand, and I can appreciate that. It really does blow my mind, given your body of work and the media outlets that are there, that some HBO or Showtime, I mean, I understand maybe from a major film company's perspective, and as you say, they're looking for merchandising. But it just seems like you've always had this great, edgy voice that people respond to when they see your movies. But it shocks me that there were no TV outlets that might be interested in being in the Ralph Bakshi business.
Well, yeah, you brought up an interesting question. I didn't even think about it. Nobody calls anybody. Everyone waits. No, everyone waits for some poor filmmaker to come through the door, so they could take as much as they could from him. Because if they call a filmmaker, then the negotiations are on the filmmaker's side. I guess, I'm not sure. What I'm saying is, HBO and Showtime and any one of those places could have had this. They still might. In other words, once they see it and I make it, if I'm lucky enough to get the money, that doesn't mean that they won't call. Or I could send them the film and say, here it is. It'll be easier for me to do it. In other words, what's great about this, because I did an HBO animated series called Spicy City. Well, if you think they didn't interfere, if you think they live up to everything they say, they're all over you. As far what they plan is a certain outrageousness, but it's all planned. It's all very much like we're cool, except we're going to figure out how to be cool. We just can't. So what I'm saying is, as long as you have executives running around, you don't know what the fuck is going to come out of their mouth at any given point. So if I do this and they like what they're looking at, I'd love to do a longer version on HBO. I wasn't even considering it, but Spicy City. Let me tell you a story on Spicy City. Okay, Rocky. So I sell Spicy City to HBO, and I sell it with me wanting to hire unknown writers from New York, because I was living in New York at the time, okay?
Okay.
And I wanted to hire different nationalities, Chinese and Korean. I wanted to get another perspective. Like I felt tired of my own perspective and of Hollywood's perspective, Hollywood writers, And
sure.
And I hired a bunch of 5 writers, One was one had just gotten out of prison, and it was clean, but he, Puerto Rican kid, and they all were raw and intelligent, and they wrote poetry also, and they went to poetry, those slam bang poetry things in Manhattan. They were great, great guys, and I was paying them $1,500 a script. They were crying. I mean, these guys never made more than $100 a night and never wrote.
Sure.
And we had a hit show. We had the highest rating in our time slot. Okay, the first season. Then HBO gives me a call. It's on the second season, and they say, "This is a true story." The guy that did that is gone. Since he ran HBO at that point, they threw him out. Chris Albrecht.
Okay.
That was his name. He comes to me, Chris Albrecht is in charge of the whole thing. And he says, we want to use L.A. writers. I go, what? He says, we want to use L.A. writers. I say, wait a minute. These guys just gave you a hit show. They're great. Why do L.A. writers, what are they going to do? And why would I need them? And what do I tell these guys? That thanks for the hit show, goodbye?
Wow.
I quit. And that's why Spicy City went off the air.
I see.
I walked out.
Man.
So what I'm saying is, why? You know why they wanted L.A. writers? Because they had a hit show, and now they wanted to control it. They wanted to make sure it was taken out of my hands. In other words, with my writers, I control the show. With their writers that they're going to hire, those writers, they control the writers. So they had a hit show, and they wanted to continue. They wanted to take it over, and that was that. I have to tell you, most directors in my position would have gone with them because there's a lot of money involved, potentially. But I didn't. There's no way I can go to those guys and say, "Guess what, guys? Thanks." But to get them to write and to get their hopes up. One of the things about working with artists is like you want them to feel great. You want them. The better they feel, the better the work is.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So I was furious. I don't know if I was more angry in my whole life. It's one thing to blow something and they say, look, we changed the writers. But it's another thing to have the best rating that ever had in that time slot and want to change the writers that got you there. How sick is that? They wouldn't have made it because the show's the only reason the show existed was because of its edginess. It's like a homosexual's writing. What you do with the homosexual, the Philippine guy, a guy out of jail, Puerto Rican. I mean, yeah, that guy wrote The Hand that was cut off a guy and was running around killing people. I mean, they had a whole other look on what American horror is. They got some different origins. I thought that in itself was a brilliant idea. So when you say HBO in these places, why go to Kickstarter? I don't know. I've had 2 experiences with them. They'll look at Last Days. I'd love for them to do it if they want to do what I just did. If I manage to make it on Kickstarter, if they want to do what I'm doing on Kickstarter, fine. Here, what I'm doing on Kickstarter is the pilot, in a sense. So that's the pilot for it. And the second short that I would do for Kickstarter is Wizards 2. There was a sequence cut out of Wizards 1, that I've always wanted to. We didn't have the money to finish. I made the picture and I had to let it go. But it wasn't exactly part of the story. I couldn't afford the extra length. You know what I'm saying? So it was a very heavy scene. It was this railroad, this boxcar that was taking the elves. It was all about Nazis with it. So
right.
Taking the elves locked up to a concentration camp. Which has happened to the Jews in World War II, and I certainly was discussing that with it. And all these elves were in boxcars, and on top of the boxcars, were those green soldiers, the Nazi, the Black Will soldiers, and Peace attacks the boxcar to free the elves. And it's an incredible action sequence of him killing all those bastards. The train roars along over precipices and stuff and over bridges, and it's a violent scene. And of course, he manages to stop the train and free the elves. So I want to do that sequence. So after Last Days, I would do that for Kickstarter.
That's fantastic, and I got to tell you, sir, Wizards was the first of your films that I saw, and it blew my mind. And that's really exciting to hear that a new sequence like that, is something that you would want to fund it and do. I think that's fantastic, and it's interesting. Wouldn't it seem? And forgive me for armchair quarterbacking you, but wouldn't it seem like that might be the better one to start with, given the cult popularity of Wizards? I'm thrilled that you're doing something new, and I'm always excited when you have something new out there. So Last Days of Coney Island is exciting in itself, but it just seems like to get the ball rolling, maybe Wizards extra season.
Yeah, I'm not. I have my own shrewdness, sort of Brooklyn shrewdness. I'll take a chance now. You're going to announce Wizards 2, and I, in the Kickstarter film, allude to it. I show Peace riding around. What I'm hoping is, because I've done Wizards. I'm not great on sequels, but I'd like to do this for the fans,
Okay.
So I've done Wizards. I love Peace. But for me to stay fresh, I've got to see what I got left on new characters. So, motherfucker, if you want to see Wizards 2, get Last Days going, you see. So, in a way, I'm saying, look, guys, this is for me, Last Days. Wizards is for you. You know what I'm saying? So
I do.
That's what I'm doing. Number 3, I would do Coonskin 2.
Fantastic.
So that's the announcement. I mean, that's my plan, and that's what I'm trying to do. And then Heavy Traffic. And what I'm saying is I could continue to do more with each one of these films and release them on the net. So maybe I could start a business on the net. Maybe just making them is enough. I'm 74. Just making them and working with a bunch of talent, small. Whatever you want to do. Do you know how great that is? I mean, do you know how amazing that? I get $50 or $100 to direct the film. I make a small salary. Could you imagine the joy in working with talented people on whatever we want? I don't know what drives these other guys, these other artists and animators. I have no idea why you'd sit there doing the same stuff over and over and over again just for a big salary. if I could do this, I'd be the happiest man in the world. Certainly, it would be nice to go out and do a $1 billion grossing film. If it's the film I want, I got nothing against paying my animated fortunes, and I've got nothing against buying an old Ferrari or something and driving around America in it. You know, but I won't sell out to get it, I think, is the difference. But could you imagine just as an artist, and that's all I am? So it's a win-win-win-win situation. But you could tell those people they want to see wizards, they better get Last Days funded.
I understand.
I live in Brooklyn. I'm Brooklyn, and you know, I'm being. and that's great. That's what I'm doing.
Well, I think that's great, and it's really fantastic to see that you get what the opportunity to make this stuff for the internet is, and it seems like it's great to hear that from someone like yourself that has had big time films and stuff, and you get the like you say. I mean, you stay true to your vision, and you can make it the satisfaction of the artist at this point of making this new stuff. No, I think that's wonderful.
I've always said that. I've always said as an artist, that's how I made these films, because I wasn't going to, it always was that for me. I could sell films today if I sell out. I mean, Pixar's offered me, to direct some of their movies. What are you crazy? I said, what I'm saying is, no, that's what I'm talking about, the joy of being an animator. But let me tell you something off the record, okay?
Okay, all right. We won't put this on, by all means.
Okay, but you can. You think about it. Yeah, you could put it on. Look, let me tell you something, okay? The older you get, I don't want to get too morbid, but, the older you get, the more you realize it's a one-way ticket in this life we lead. It's a one-way ticket. We're not getting out of this alive. We're just not. And it doesn't matter how much we die with it financially. You got to do something you really love on the way, or the whole thing's been a waste of time. We're all going down the same roads. Sooner or later, in the way the world looks, it may even be sooner. That's all it's about.
I hear you.
Guys that can't make these decisions, thinking they're going to somehow not face this issue, they're going to live forever, and can sell out their whole lives and be miserable, but make a lot of money, okay, if that's what you want to do, but it doesn't make you happy. We got one way on this road. It's a one-way road. Now, that's the best advice I can give to anyone listening out there. Think about that. You can't hide from the truth. Everyone hides from the truth. This is the reality. We're out of here. We're gone. It's finished. Go ahead.
I'm with you. Now, I'm back to Last Days of Coney Island.
Yeah.
As you say, this is kind of a pilot episode.
Yeah.
So are you thinking, and this is before the Kickstarter is out, so you might address this in the video, but I'm going to ask you, 10 minutes, 20 minutes? How long do you think it'll...
That's how much money we get.
I see.
That's how much bread we get. If we get enough money, I'll do the whole fucking thing for an hour. It depends on what comes in, so it's hard for me to say.
Is your background, when you first got into animation, this was, the 50s and TerryToons, are there tricks that you learned as far as maybe, and forgive me because I saw lots of this stuff on television, and I can't remember how much of it was produced for the theaters and how much of it was produced for television. But I know you also did your body of work in limited animation back in the 60s as well. Are those tricks... and ability to do that kind of limited animation, do you apply any of that kind of
here's what I apply. That's a very good question. Okay. Full animation is what I try to do and I've always done. What TerryToons taught me, is production tricks. In other words, how the stuff goes through the house and how you finish it. I use every trick in the book imaginable, and there are millions of them. Most guys don't, to keep the cost down. For example, Wizards, okay, and Fritz. We could not afford pencil tests. You know what pencil tests are, right?
I do, yes, sir.
We could not afford pencil tests. So, okay, I won't have pencil tests. That's not a trick. That's a production decision. So my animators are hired. Both the animators are hired, Virgil Ross, all those great short animators with 50 years experience in the business. I wasn't concerned. These guys don't need pencil tests at this stage of their life to know they're good. And if the scene's not exactly perfect, I'll still put it in. That's a trick. I mean, if you're doing, I've seen guys go out of business trying to make that scene the most perfect scene in the world. And you know why till they cost them a fortune. And you know why they do it? Because they're not saying anything. You see, if you're saying something, the animation could be a little crude, a little sloppy. If you're not saying anything, it better be good, because that's all you're looking at on the screen is good animation. If it's not good, you're not saying anything. Who needs you? So what I'm saying is they get terrified at putting anything on the screen that's not what they call perfect. No. I say, guys, let's all get to this. Let's all do the best we could. I want full animation. That's quality. But I'm not going to shoot you if you make a mistake. So, and the production tricks that I learned, I'll use every trick in the book to keep the cost down. And there are a million of them. So that's my technique.
Okay.
But it's also, well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, finish your thought, and then I'll ask.
But I'm not going to kill an animator if he makes a mistake. And I put it up at the bed. Look, guy, that could have been better, but so what? What's his name? Andrew's beating the shit out of Ido. Who cares if the hit's not perfect? We know he's beating her up. And that in itself is nuts. So those are the kind of decisions I make as a director. If I was working for Disney, it would have to be perfect. But I'm not doing anything except the fairy dust,
Yeah. Well, how about the tools today? Do you, do you ever try and draw on a tablet with a stylus?
Of course I have. And the film I put together on Kick, the computer and the programs and what you could do with the computer is mind-boggling. It allows, everything I did on traffic and wizards and everything I got in the box in my living room on my computer at 1/10 the cost. So the entire back-end production is now virtually nothing. This means I can pour more into the animation. I hire young animators. Colleen Cox is a girl who lives in Singapore for 2 years, self-taught animator. She did the first animation on the Kickstarter film of the new characters, right? She works, I think, dead ahead on the Wacom tablet. Wonderful work. I have nothing against the new techniques. I draw, on pencil and paper and pegs, and I scan it to these different various people. Mm-hmm. And they go to work with it on their computers. So I pretty much do it my way. But my animators and stuff, they're all on those programs. And that's what I want. But I'm not animating. So, that's their job.
Understood. Understood.
But I love the computer. It's allowed me to do this. I don't have to leave my house, and I could do these shorts. If I left my house, my wife would shoot me. Because she doesn't want me to go back to work. She says I go crazy. And I used to go crazy because it was so hard. And I was fighting all the time. But the computer has kept me alive and got me back into the business. So I have nothing to say except I am fucking amazed at what you can do on the computer.
Fantastic. That's great. What about writing? Honestly, I always enjoy that you go back to the 60s on a lot of your stories. And this is another one, Last Days of Coney Island. What can you tell us about the story for the short?
Okay, I'll give you a brief. First of all, writers write what they know about. If they're writing about what they know about, the stuff is weak. If they're faking it, the stuff doesn't come off. And that's basically why I say when animators get together and do a picture, they're mainly lies. What does that mean? It means that you sit down and try to concoct stuff that wasn't necessarily part of your personal experience to make it exciting and interesting for people. So in a sense, you're concocting stuff. I go back to the 60s because I have a lot of experience in the 60s. And there's a lot of stories to tell. And people were different then. I can make this comparison. The picture compares today in the 60s and what's going on today. It compares the peace movements last days. See, Coney Island used to be a glorious spot in America. But Coney Island now is all burnt down and dead. Very similar to what's happening to America. In other words, we're losing our way. I don't have to tell you about Congress. I don't want to go into talking about the mortgage finance mess and all the banks that rob people clean.
You bet.
Could you imagine not wanting to tax the rich? I mean, all this is new to America, and if I go back to the 60s, I can talk about it. I could talk about Kennedy's assassination, which is happening in a bar, while my characters are talking about something else, and how they react to it. You know what I'm saying? Also determines
Yes, sir.
what the attitude was. So there's a lot going on. It's about basically, let's say what's going on. We've done an egotist who's about 4.5 feet high, who thinks he's God, which is like, and acts like we're acting now. And it tells a story about it's a murder story, it's a horror story, but it all weaves through the 60s. Bobby Dylan's coming alive. One of the bar scenes, when the kid, Kennedy's son, salutes him at a funeral procession. It was a stunning piece of film that happened when they were taking the funeral cortege, after.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And Marley says, "Oh, isn't that cute?" Looking at the television, and this little son of a bitch says, "Yeah, you ought to see his father." It's that kind of thing that allows me to get into the various things that I heard in the 60s. So it discusses people trying to live their lives and how the outside world affects them or doesn't affect them. So I write as I go, and I change as I go, and my style is very much that. So I've written the script. Whether that's the script I end up with, I couldn't tell you. I know I handed in Heavy Traffic. We wrote the thing, and I handed in Coonskin. And as I was making the picture, it totally changed. So I don't know how I work. It's very odd. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't want to give away the story either, because I don't want to get a sick version of it from the studio. You could say
Understood.
that. I got to be careful that someone doesn't jump on it and does a merchandisable movie out of it.
I understand. Well, you're a great eavesdropper, it seems, because there's always these moments in your films that really just seem like you're a fly on the wall. And before we talked today, I was watching a bit of Fritz the Cat, and that opening scene of the construction workers talking about how kids today, they think they invented having sex before marriage, but the respect that we used to show to, when we used to go out with a girl, it was just one girl. And it's just this wonderfully natural conversation between guys. And it really does sound like, you just stuck a microphone amongst a bunch of construction workers.
But I did.
Really does.
I did. That's part of my style. Look, you want construction workers talking. I wrote that down, right? Then you go find, okay, this is what you want in the film. You want to open the film on a high bridge up there, building a building, discussing the 60s. That's what I want as a writer-director, right? I went and found a bunch of construction workers. We sat down with a bottle. I bought a bottle. I bought my tape recorder. I gave each guy $100. And I'd ask them questions, just like you're asking me. And they would talk and talk, and I'd edit the tape. And what I want, and I'd edit it. You're going to see the stuff I had to throw out. It was so great. I could have made 5 movies out of it. But that is my technique. But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm going to do in Last Days. So what I'm saying is I did the same thing with the Black Revolutionaries talking in the bar. I was born in Oakland. I remember I was so poor my mother gave me peanut butter jelly sandwich. That was the same thing. There are moments that you just go to the real person. And that's what I need about reality. Now look, Hunter Thompson does that. Kerouac did that. I'm part of that generation,
Absolutely, sir.
So, jazz and musicians do that. So that's my background. That's my upbringing, being on the streets. That's why I can't stand Disney, because they're not on the streets. I don't know where they are.
I hear you.
I don't know where they are.
I like to show people that opening sequence of Hey Good Looking with the pile of trash talking about heaven, and then the just the meaning of life, it seems, and I love that scene, and that honestly, where did that come from? That was fantastic, and just the whole idea of these two piles of garbage talking about heaven and what it means.
I wrote that. I do write stuff too. No, I'm always discussing God and heaven and misconceptions. There's misconceptions about religion. There's misconceptions about who we are. Someone else is, here's a bunch of garbage going to get burnt, and they think they're going to heaven there. So I wrote that. I love to do that. You get a lot of that in Last Day. You get a lot of
That's excellent. Fantastic, man. The Spider-Man animated series, everyone, decades later, we all still love it, and it really is such an important piece. And I talk to a lot of comic book creators. That's my bread and butter as far as a lot of my interviews. Good memories of that experience. How do you look back on those episodes of Spider-Man?
Fine. I wasn't making Fritz the Cat yet.
Right.
Heavy Traffic wasn't even in my mind exactly.
Okay.
I was due. I had a major character to work with in my own studio. I wanted my own studio very badly. Because I wanted to be able to make my own cartoons. Had pretty much full control. The budgets were horrible, but I worked with great artists like Steranko and Gray Morrow. It's where I met Frazetta and I met Krinkle. So,
wow.
Wally Wood did some work for me and did some work for me at Paramount. So I was feeling good. I was young. I was about 25, 26. So, when you're young, everything's fine. So I was very happy with it. It was fine.
And you mentioned Fire and Ice, and I had no idea, but I was reading some other interviews you did last year, and somebody mentioned that Robert Rodriguez wanted to do a remake of Fire and Ice.
Well, I spoke to him this week over email, and he said he's going to shoot it next summer.
Wow.
You bet your ass wow. Because I get a nice fee. I get a nice fee if he shoots it. He came to me, he wanted to do it. He wants to do it live action. I would never remake that, so it's fine. Make it like Sin City and Frazetta. And he said he wouldn't. He says, as an emailer, you can't believe all the emails. He said he's shooting it next summer. He's now shooting Sin City too.
Right.
So I feel every time to lie to me, that's his intention. And yes,
Wow, that's fantastic. And, sir, I really enjoyed your participation in the Frazetta documentary, Playing with Fire, a few years ago, too. and it was fun seeing your friendship with Frazetta on camera.
I love the guy. He's gone,
Yes, sir.
His kids are, never mind. He's gone. I feel terrible about that. Man, what's the world without Frank Frazetta? It doesn't make any sense. Anyhow, I love the guy. He was just great. He just was a guy, I also beat him a lot in stickball, so he never admitted it. He was fighting. Now that he's dead, he can't argue, you see, but... So, whether I did it or not, it doesn't matter. I say I did.
Hey, honestly, I appreciate your time. I'll let you go, but good luck with the Kickstarter campaign. I hope that we'll have the opportunity to talk again.
Anytime you want. You're a good guy. Where are you out of?
I'm in Chicago.
Chicago, no wonder. Great people, good people. Wonderful Chicago people. Louise Zingarelli, one of the best artists ever worked for me. Louise Zingarelli worked for me on all kinds of movies. I was out of Chicago. She recently passed from cancer, but Chicago is cool. Thanks. Anytime you want to speak to me.
Man, how have I not taken Ralph up on that offer to talk again? I really enjoyed my conversation with Bakshi. What a genius. And really, I'm a long admirer of his work, as you can tell from my gushing during the interview. Can't help it, man. Like I said, I'm such a fan and have been for years of his television and film work. And he's 81. I hope he's still doing it. I hope The Last Days of Coney Island was successful enough for him to continue his work and move forward with other great ideas. The great Ralph Bakshi on today's Word Balloon. I hope you enjoyed it. All brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners via Patreon. Thank you greatly for your support. Patreon.com/Word Balloon is the place to subscribe to Word Balloon if you so choose. I hope you like the content enough to consider subscribing to Word Balloon via Patreon. Thank you very much, League of Word Balloon listeners. And Word Balloon brought to you by Aftershock Comics, a great comic book company that I've been proud to be associated with now for over a year. I love what they do. I love their books, and I appreciate their sponsorship and patronage. Listen, whether it's Garth Ennis or Marguerite Bennett or Tim Seeley or Matthew Klickstein, a brand new creator with an amazing comic called You Are Obsolete that has 4 issues in now of his first chapter of that series. Really, really great stuff, man. I'm telling you, Cullen Bunn continues to make great books for Aftershock Comics. Garth Ennis has a lot of books over there as well. My buddy Phil Hester, my buddy Paul Jenkins, Brian Azzarello has a great Aftershock book in the Aftershock catalog. There's a lot of really, really good Aftershock books waiting for you with your name on it in terms of the kind of book that you like to read and unconventional stuff that you're not going to find at the big two. So do yourself a favor. Go to their website. You'll find full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on how to order these books through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. Thanks again for listening. More great stuff coming up this week, man. I am telling you, tomorrow I'm going to release an episode of Word Balloon that is going to blow your socks off. Cannot wait to share it with you. A great new conversation with one of your favorite creators, a lot of new ideas, and very excited about some of the things he's been working on. And that show will be dropping on Wednesday. Look for it. You're going to enjoy it. Until next time, thanks a lot for listening. Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2019.